අද්විතීය 200 Mbps ස්පීඩ් එකකින් ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ වේගවත්ම සහ පුළුල්තම හෝම් බ්‍රෝඩ්බෑන්ඩ් සම්බන්ධතාවය වන SLT Mobitel දේශීය ෆයිබර් බලවේගය ඔබත් අදම අත්විඳින්න.
හරිම සුදුයි.
Tonight on First at 9 this Tuesday, the 22nd of August 2023. Drought brief. Agriculture Minister confirms that almost 47,000 acres of paddy cultivation have been destroyed due to the ongoing drought. Singapore synergy. President Ranil Wickremesinghe meets the Singapore Prime Minister to discuss avenues on increasing economic involvement. Cybersecurity brief. The US Ambassador at Large for Cyberspace and Digital Policy highlights the need for right processes to respond to cyber attacks. Parliament drama. Anura Kumara Disanayaka and Bandula Gunawardena lock horns over the Channel I deal.
ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දිනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟමැති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක. Rhino Cement Roofing Sheets. හොඳම මෙලට කල් පවතින වහරයක්.
This is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and a warm welcome to today's edition of AdaDerana's English News First at 9. Let's get into our top story. Today's news bulletin begins with grim news over the ensuing drought that has paralyzed and ravaged Sri Lanka over the past few weeks. Following the news with reduced levels of available drinking water yesterday, the Ministry of Agriculture today announced that almost 47,000 acres of paddy cultivation have been damaged due to the ongoing drought. The Kurunegala and Udawalave areas have been identified as the most affected areas in the country. Meanwhile, the Meteorology Department asked the general public to be vigilant over the fierce heat currently being experienced due to the prevailing hot weather condition in the country. The current lack of rain has severely affected not only paddy cultivations but also other crops in the island. Pepper plantations in the Mid-Denia, Okandayaya and Bukkandayaya of the Hambantota district have died due to lack of water. Land crops in the Hiralugama village, which belongs to the Ehetuweva Divisional Secretariat of the Kurunegala district, have been completely destroyed due to the lake, which normally supplies water to the zone, completely drying up due to the weather. Villages are also suffering from acute water shortage. Meanwhile, the water level of the Morogahakanda reservoir, which supplies water to 2,000 large and small tanks in the north central, northwest and eastern provinces, is also dropping significantly due to the prevailing dry weather. The Agriculture and Agrarian Insurance Board is currently assessing the damage caused to the paddy cultivation due to the prevailing dry weather conditions in the country. According to assessments as of yesterday, the amount of paddy cultivations damaged stands at 46,904.54 acres. The Ministry of Agriculture confirmed that the number of farmers affected by crop damage is 41,402 farmers. As of yesterday, the Kurunegala district has suffered the most damage owing to destroyed paddy cultivation. 23,286 acres of paddy fields have been damaged and the number of affected farmers have increased to 27,904 farmers. The second highest crop loss is in the Udawalave region with 14,667 acres of paddy fields damaged and 5,867 farmers affected.
අමාත්‍යවරයා හැටියට ඔබතුමාගේ කුඹරවත් බේරගන්න බැරුව ගියා.
ඔබ කිව්වා හරි මගේ කුඹරවත් මාසෙකින් විතර වතුර නැහැ. දැන් සමනලෙන් ආපු එක වතුර බින්දුවක් තව මේනකන් අපේ කුඹරකටවත් ආවේ නැහැ. ඒ ඔක්කොම විනාශ වෙලා දැන් අපි ඒ වගේ වතුර ඉල්ලන්නෙත් නැහැ දැන්. ඒවා මං කිව්වා හරක්ට කන්න දෙන්න කියලා. අපි ගිනි තියන්න ඉඩ දෙන්නේ නැහැ.
මෙතන මේක වකියුතු ඇමතුමාද නැත්නම් තව ආයතන තියෙනවද?
මහවැලි අධිකාරිය තමයි ඒ ටික පාලනය කරන්නේ. මගේ අමාත්‍යංශයෙන් නෙමෙයි. විදුලි බල මණ්ඩලයෙන් තමයි අනිත් කටයුත්ත කරන්න ඕන. ලේසියට ඉතින් තඩි බාන්න පුළුවන් මම නිසා කියනවා. නීත්‍යානුකූල වශයෙන් මෙතනට මට මැදිහත් වෙන්න කිසිදු ආකාරයක එහෙම හැකියාවක් නැහැ.
එනගමතුමා මේක නීතිමය ක්‍රියාමාර්ග ගන්න බෑ මේ වෙච්ච හානියට රටේ.
නේද මම නෙමෙයි ගන්න ඕන. මේ වෙච්ච හානියට ඉතින් යම් තීන්දුවක් ගනී ජනාධිපතිතුමා දැන් වාර්තාවක් හැඳවලා තියෙනවනේ.
While dry weather conditions have severely affected the country's paddy and other crops, the Department of Meteorology says that people should pay attention to the temperatures felt by the body in several provinces with the ongoing heat wave currently being experienced.
අද දවසේදී ඇත්තටම දිවයිනේ උතුරු මැද නැගෙනහිර පළාත් ඌව පළාත් ඒ වගේම හම්බන්තොට දිස්ත්‍රික්කවල සිරුරට දැනෙන උෂ්ණත්වය අවධානය යොමු කළ යුතු මට්ටමක පවතිනවා. හැකි පමණ දියර වර්ග පානයට ගන්න. එලිමහනේ සිරුර නිරාවරණය වී කටයුතු කිරීමේදී බර වැඩවල නිරත වීම අවම කරන්න, හැකි පමණ සෙවණෙහි කාලය ගත කරන්න කියලා ජනතාවට මතක් කර සිටින්න කැමැතියි.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe and Singaporean Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong emphasized the importance of sustained cooperation and further explored avenues for increased economic involvement during their meeting in Singapore today. After discussions, Sri Lanka and Singapore signed a memorandum of understanding to collaborate on carbon credits within the framework of Article 6 of the Paris Agreement. During the final day of his official visit to Singapore, President Ranil Wickremesinghe met with Singaporean Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong. Discussions between the Sri Lankan head of state and the Singaporean premier focused on reinforcing collaborative efforts between both countries. The leaders emphasized the importance of sustained cooperation and explored avenues for increased economic involvement. Following discussions, Sri Lanka and Singapore signed a memorandum of understanding in the presence of President Ranil Wickremesinghe and Prime Minister of Singapore Lee Hsien Loong to collaborate on a carbon credits policy within the framework of Article 6 of the Paris Agreement. According to the President's media division, the Sri Lanka-Singapore strategic partnership showcases the commitment of both nations towards environmental responsibility and sets the stage for further collaboration in various sectors, paving the way for a prosperous and sustainable future. Drama in Parliament today as a heated debate arose between the leader of the National People's Power, or NPP, Anurakumara Dissanayake, and Minister of Mass Media, Bandula Gunawardena, over the leasing of the airtime of state-owned Channel I to the Lanka Group. Meanwhile, State Minister of Finance, Shehan Semasinghe, assured that none of the parliamentarians have requested duty-free vehicles and thus urged the print media of Sri Lanka to act responsibly when breaking such stories.
ජාතික රූපවාහිනිය අයිනාලිකාව අධ්‍යක්ෂ මණ්ඩලය විසින් බදු දී තියෙනවා. අධ්‍යක්ෂ මණ්ඩලයේ බදු දීමේ ක්‍රියාවලියේදී කිසිදු ප්‍රසිද්ධ පුවත්පතක දැන්වීමක් හෝ එහෙම නැත්නම් කැමැත්ත පළ කිරීම සඳහා අවස්ථාවක් ලබා දීමක් හෝ කිසිවක් කරලා නැහැ. මාසයකට රුපියල් මිලියන 25 දන බදු යටතේ. ඒතර මේක කිසිදු විනිවිද භාවයක නැති ගනුදෙනුව. ඒ නිසා අනාගතයේදී අමාත්‍යතුමාට ගස් යන්න සිදු වෙයි කියන එකට බයි ගනුදෙනුව සිදු වී ගිවිසුම අත්සන්කොට මුදල් ගත්තාට පසුව කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලයට ඉදිරිපත් කරනවා දැන් මේකට ආවරණ අනුමැතිය දෙන්න කියලා. ඇත්තටම ගත්තොත් ඒක හොරකම වසා ගැනීම සඳහා බන්දුල තමන් සතුව තිබෙන ඥාණය උපයෝග කරගෙන තියෙනවා. හැබැයි මොකක් හෝ හේතුවකට කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලයක අනුමත කරේ නැහැ.
කරලා තියෙන්නේ කුමක්ද? රූපවාහිනී සංස්ථාවේ අයිනාලිකාවේ ගුවන් කාලය මාස 6ක කාලයක් සඳහා කුලී පදනම මත මාසික කුලිය මිලියන 25යි ධන බදු මුදල සමග VIS Broadcasting Private Limited වෙත ලබා දී ඇත. කැබිනට් පේපර් එකක් ලියන්නේ කැබිනට් ඇමතිවරයා විසින් නෙමෙයි. කැබිනට් ලේකම් ලියන්නේ. කැබිනට් ලේකම්ට කුලියයි බදු මුදලයි අතර අවබෝධයක් නැතුව හෝ මේ කැබිනට් පත්‍රිකාව සකස් කරලා තියෙන්නේ.
ඔබතුමා ආර්ථික විද්‍යාව පිළිබඳ ඇමතිවරයා. ඔබතුමා තමයි කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලයේ මේ පත්‍රිකාව ගෙනියන්නේ. ලේකම් නෙමෙයිනේ. කැබිනට් පත්‍රිකාව ඔබතුමාගේ අස්සන මේකේ තියෙන්නේ. බන්දුල කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලයට ගෙනියනකොට දැනගන්න එපා මම මේක බදු කුලියද කුලී පදනමද කියලා. කැබිනට් පත්‍රිකාවට වක් කියනවා ඇමති.
මේකේ කියෝ ඉන්නේ නැතුව මේකේ වංචාවක් තියෙනවා නම් දූෂණයක් තියෙනවා නම් වැරදි නම් බලයේ වැරදි ලෙස භාවිත කරලා යන්න උසාවියට. ගිහිල්ලා කියන්නේ හෙට උදේට මම අයින් වෙනවා.
ඔබතුමා මේ සභාවේ ඔය ඉල්ලාස් වෙනවා කියලා ඔප්පුවෙච්ච ඒවා ඉල්ලාස් වෙන 7-8 වතාවක් දැන් ඉල්ලාස් වෙන්න ඕන.
8 වෙනි මාසේ 22 වෙනිදා පළ කරලා තිබුණා 225ම බදු නැති වාහන ඉල්ලති කියන ශීර්ෂය යටතේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ ඉන්න සියලුම മന്ത്രിවරු වාහන බලපත්‍ර බදු රහිත වාහන මේ වෙලාවේ ඉල්ලනවා කියලා. මේ ඉල්ලීමක් මේ වගේ වෙලාවකදී කවුරුත් කරන්නේ නැති ඉල්ලීමක් ගරු කතානායකතුමනි. දැන්
මුදල් අමාත්‍යාංශයට කිසිදු පාර්ලිමේන්තු මන්ත්‍රීවරයෙක් ඉල්ලීමක් කරලා නැහැ. තීරුබදු රහිත වාහන ගෙනීම සඳහා අවසරය ලබා දෙන්න කියලා. ඒ එක්කම ගරු කතානායකතුමනි එවැනි ප්‍රවෘත්ති පළ කිරීමේදී මං හිතනවා වගකීමෙන් යුතුව පළ කිරීම වැදගත් වේවි. මේ මුදල් අමාත්‍යාංශයේ ජ්‍යෙෂ්ඨ නිලධාරියෙක් කියන වචනයට වඩා ඒ අදාළ නිලධාරියාට ඒ නිලධාරියාගේ නම තහවුරු කළා සඳහන් කරොත් අපිටත් පුළුවන් ඒ සම්බන්ධයෙන් ඇයි එහෙම ප්‍රකාශයක් කරේ කියලා අහන්න.
The US Ambassador at Large for Cybersecurity and Digital Policy, Nathaniel Fick, highlighted the importance of educating members of the public and the first line of defense on cybersecurity about the need for robust cybersecurity. Addressing the media in Colombo, the US envoy also highlighted the importance of ensuring that right processes are positioned in place to effectively respond to cyber attacks. The US Ambassador at Large for Cyberspace and Digital Policy, Nathaniel C. Fick, who is currently in Sri Lanka, visited the Colombo office of the business process outsourcing company Hatch today. He was also accompanied by US Ambassador in Colombo, Julie Chung. Addressing the media, he shared some thoughts on the importance of educating people on the importance of cybersecurity.
When I think about cybersecurity, I think about it in terms of people, process, and technology in that order. And spending money on technology is actually not the most important element of cybersecurity in my experience. The most important element is ensuring that we educate our people about the importance of cybersecurity. People, citizens, employees, whether we're in government agencies or in companies, are our first line of defense in cybersecurity. They're also our greatest weakness, unwittingly, because sometimes people do things that undermine good cybersecurity. So the first and most important thing is to educate people, to upskill our people, and that need not be expensive. The second most important factor is process, and making sure that we have the right processes in place, both to ensure good cybersecurity and also to ensure that we respond the right way when breaches, when attacks happen. And then third is technology, which is usually what involves writing a check. So there's actually quite a lot that the companies can do, that citizens can do, that governments can do to build good cybersecurity practices without spending a lot of money.
A 40-year-old individual, a resident from Rathmalana, died after being gunned down by two unidentified gunmen last night. The shooting took place near the Rathmalana railway station. Meanwhile, the Sri Lankan Navy were busy last night with two separate sets of arrests. Two suspects were arrested on a narcotics charge, while 8 individuals were apprehended for engaging in illegal fishing in Trincomalee. With that, let's take a more detailed look at news in brief from around the island. A 40-year-old person was gunned down by two unidentified gunmen near the Rathmalana railway station last night. Two unidentified gunmen who arrived on a motorcycle had opened fire at the deceased and fled the scene. The motive behind the murder and the suspects involved are yet to be ascertained. The Sri Lankan Navy apprehended 2 suspects with 99 kilograms of smuggled kendu leaves and a dinghy during a search operation conducted last night. The suspects, aged between 23 and 25, were identified as residents of the Kalpitiya and Puttalam areas. Kendu leaves are popularly used as a narcotic to wrap homemade cigars and cigarettes. The accused, along with all evidence, was handed over to the Customs Preventive Office in Katunayaka for further legal proceedings. Concurrently, the Sri Lankan Navy also arrested 8 people for engaging in illegal fishing using unauthorized equipment in Trincomalee last night. 2 dinghies along with unauthorized fishing gear were seized during the search operation conducted in the area yesterday. The arrestees, aged between 20 and 44 years, were handed over to the Kuchaveli Fisheries Inspector for further legal proceedings. An outbreak of meningococcal disease caused by the meningococcal bacteria has claimed 2 lives at the Galle prison. Symptoms of fever and skin infections plagued an inmate who died succumbing to the disease. A 24-year-old who succumbed first at the Karapitiya Teaching Hospital upon his release is suspected to be patient 0. Health Services has since directed prison officials to implement a course of antibiotic treatment to all persons in the vicinity as a preventative measure. Currently, 7 more inmates who have displayed these symptoms are under strict medical observation and are being closely monitored.
On 2 separate occasions, the 13th and 20th of August, 2 prison inmates of the Galle prison died due to an illness. According to the prison spokesperson Chandaneka Nayaka, the deceased inmates had been diagnosed with fever and skin infections. The matter was investigated by a committee of the Karapitiya Hospital headed by a specialist doctor. Addressing a media briefing today, Deputy Director General of Health Services Dr. G. Vijay Surya said that the committee has revealed that the deaths had occurred due to the meningococcal disease caused by the meningococcus bacteria.
මේ වෙන විට මේ රෝගී තත්ත්වය මෙනින්ගෝකොකල් බැක්ටීරියා මගින් සිදු ආසාදනයක් කියන එක යන්තා දුරට තහවුරු කරගෙන තියෙනවා. තව දුරටත් ඒකට අදාළ පරීක්ෂණ සිදු කරමින් පවතිනවා. උපදෙස් ලබා දීලා තියෙනවා ඒ සියලුම රැඳවියන්ට සහ ඒ තුල සේවය කරන සියලුම කාර්ය මණ්ඩලයට ප්‍රොෆිලැක්ටික් ප්‍රතිජීවක ලබා දීම සඳහා. ඊට අමතරව දැන් අපි මේ ගැන සොයලා බලනවා මෙම බැක්ටීරියාව බන්ධනාගාරය තුලට කිනම් ආකාරයකින්ද ගියේ කියන කාරණා පිළිබඳව ඒ පිළිබඳව සොයා බැලීමේදී ගාල්ල බන්ධනාගාරයේ දහස් වෙලා ගියපු පුජ්‍යලයෙකු කරාපිටිය ශික්ෂණ රෝහලේදී මිය ගිහිලා තියෙනවා. ඒ පුජ්‍යලයා අවුරුදු 24ක පමණ තරුණ පුජ්‍යලයෙක්. එතකොට සැකයක් පවතිනවා මේ පුජ්‍යලයාද විස බීජය ඇතුළට ගිය මාර්ගය මේකද කියන පිළිබඳව අධ්‍යයනය කරනවා. ඒ වගේම ඒ පුජ්‍යලයාගේ නිවසේ උදවිය පිළිබඳවත් පරීක්ෂා කරලා බලලා සමග ආශ්‍රය කරු පුජ්‍යලයන්වත් පරීක්ෂා කිරීම සඳහා ගාල්ල දිස්ත්‍රික් සෞඛ්‍ය සේවා අධ්‍යක්ෂකවරයාට දැනුම් දීලා තියෙනවා.
So far, 9 inmates infected with meningococcal disease are currently receiving treatment at the Karapitiya Teaching Hospital. 7 more inmates displaying symptoms are currently receiving treatment at the prison hospital under medical supervision. Taking the situation into account, the Galle prison has taken steps to halt the transportation of prison inmates to courts for 2 weeks.
Business news after a short break. Stay tuned.
ගොඩමඩ පෙරලි කරන බලපුළුවන්කාරයා මහින්ද්‍රා යුවෝ ටීමෝ වෙතින්. වැඩම ගොඩයි ගොඩම තමයි ස්වරාජ් ට්‍රැක්ටර් ටීමෝ වෙතින්.
Welcome back. Sri Lanka has recorded over 860,000 tourist arrivals so far for the year 2023 to date. According to statistics released by the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority, a total of 866,744 tourist arrivals have been reported since January this year to date, of which 98,831 reported within the first 20 days of August. While a majority of the tourists have been identified as Indian nationals, a high number of British and Chinese nationals were also recorded entering the island. The Ministry of Tourism expects to attract around 2 million tourists this year. During a recent meeting held at the Presidential Secretariat, President Ranil Wickremesinghe urged officials to accelerate efforts towards the goal of attracting 5 million tourists annually to Sri Lanka. Financial consumer protection regulations were issued by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka today. The regulations are applicable for all financial services providers regulated by the CBSL and are expected to strengthen the current financial consumer protection framework of the CBSL. The regulations encompass a wide range of requirements to ensure fair and transparent treatment of individuals and businesses dealing with financial products and services, enabling them to take well-informed decisions on their finance activities. Recent developments in digital financial services and customer data protection sectors, as well as requirements of financial consumers with special needs, are also included. Further, these regulations provide a well-structured internal complaint handling mechanism, supplemented by an alternative dispute resolution mechanism provided by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. Meanwhile, for the first time, CBSL, through the regulations, facilitate conduct of separate and comprehensive customer protection. These regulations will be implemented on an incremental basis within 12 months from the issue date. The Colombo bourse ended lower for a third consecutive session today, dragged by losses in industrial stocks. The Colombo Stock Exchange All-Share Price Index closed down 0.52% at 11,279.03 points, while the S&P SL20 closed 1.05% down at 3,204.26 points. Expo Lanka Holdings PLC and LOLC Holdings PLC were the top losers on the Colombo Stock Exchange All-Share Index, falling 1.8% and 1.6% respectively. This was underlined by a drop in trading volume on the index to 81 million shares from 169 million shares in the previous session. Equity market turnover fell to 2.93 billion rupees from 4.38 billion rupees in the previous session. The banking sector was the top contributor to market turnover today, while the diversified financial sector was the second highest contributor. Foreign investors were net buyers, purchasing stocks worth 307.2 million rupees, while domestic investors were net sellers, offloading shares worth 2.77 billion rupees. How did the rupee fare against other currencies internationally? Let's take a look. Sri Lanka's Sir John Kotalavala Hospital has been awarded the Australian Healthcare Standards Council Evaluation Certificate following an appraisal by the Australian Council for Healthcare Standards. This is the first and only hospital in Sri Lanka to secure this prestigious accreditation. Meanwhile, youth entrepreneur Mihindi Bandara won first place in the Spark Youth Entrepreneurship Competition 2023 held yesterday by the International Labour Organization's South Asia Leadership in Entrepreneurship program. More on these and other news from the corporate world in this video package. The Sir John Kotalavala Defence University Hospital, one of the public hospitals in Sri Lanka, has been evaluated by the Australian Council for Healthcare Standards and accepted by the Council. It is the first and only public hospital in Sri Lanka to be accredited by the Australian Council for Healthcare Standards. Accordingly, the presentation of the Australian Healthcare Standards Council Evaluation Certificate to the Sir John Kotalavala Defence University Hospital took place yesterday at the Verahara Kotalavala Defence University Hospital premises. Spark, a national competition for Sri Lanka's next generation of entrepreneurs, celebrated the grand finale yesterday, coinciding with World Entrepreneurship Day. The event saw innovators, problem solvers, thinkers and creators aged 15 to 24 years showcase their transformative ideas and vie for the Spark 2023 award. The competition saw over 400 applications from across the country. The top 5 contestants pitched their business ideas to a panel of judges, and first place of the competition was won by Mihindi Minupama Bandara. The Spark Youth Entrepreneurship Competition 2023 is an initiative of the International Labour Organization's South Asia Leadership in Entrepreneurship program, of which the Ceylon Chamber is the implementing partner. The 56th meeting of the Asia-Pacific Advanced Network, or APAN, hosted by the Lanka Education and Research Network, commenced yesterday at the Golf Face Hotel. APAN is an organization and a network that connects the research and education networks of its member countries and economies of other research networks across the world. APAN 56 will include a wide range of workshops, training programs, keynote speeches and tutorials, followed by a research conference. The Colombo Stock Exchange confirms a collaboration with the Global Reporting Initiative to hold an exclusive session for sharing and engaging on the recent global and regional development of sustainability reporting on the 24th of August 2023 at the Cinnamon Grand Hotel, Colombo. The Global Reporting Initiative is an international independent standards organization that helps businesses, governments, and other organizations understand and communicate their impacts on issues such as climate change, human rights, and corruption. The Colombo Stock Exchange Chief Executive Officer Rajiva Bandaranaike, commenting on the event in a statement, remarked that it is prudent to engage with listed companies with regards to the recent global developments in sustainability reporting. Sri Lankan Airlines says that it has relaunched direct flights from Colombo to Jeddah with a thrice-weekly service every Tuesday, Wednesday and Sunday. Sri Lankan Airlines currently operates flights to the Middle East to the key cities of Abu Dhabi and Dubai in the United Arab Emirates, Doha in Qatar, Dammam and Riyadh in Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. According to the airlines, the region is an important source market for high-net-worth tourists, and Sri Lanka hopes to promote its flight services from the Middle East to Sri Lanka and beyond for leisure travel. The airline also connects passengers to 3 cities across Saudi Arabia with a total of 17 weekly flights. That wraps up all the news I have for you today. Join us again tomorrow for more news and updates from Sri Lanka and around the world. For now, this is Jonathan Benedict wishing you a good night, a blessed Wednesday ahead, and reminding you to keep hydrated and stay safe.
For news and information you can trust 24 hours a day, visit AdaDerana.lk.